What is going on, North family, and welcome to another First 15. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today. Whether this is the beginning, middle, or end of your day, it just feels good to spend time with you and to know that we're all praying together. And today we are in this brand new series devoted that we kicked off yesterday, and we're talking about what does it mean to abide in Christ. And there's so many great things that are happening right now as we have the discipleship in a box that just launched, and what does it mean to know God, and just all these things that are being connected together. And so to start us off on this day, I just want to hang out in Luke and a passage that's going to be very familiar to you. In Luke chapter 10, verse 27, it says this: "And he answered, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your strength, and with all your mind." So I love that verse because I think that if there's anything about abiding in God, about being close to Jesus and Jesus being close to us, it's this verse. But I actually like the way that the Message version translates this, and I'd like to share that part with you. It says, Luke 10:27, the Message version says, "He said that you love the Lord your God with all your passion and prayer and muscle and intelligence." I love that. Passion, prayer, muscle, intelligence. And so the question to ask is, what does it look like to abide in Christ? What does it look like to be connected to Jesus in your passion, in your prayer, in your muscle, and in your intelligence? So let's talk about passion, for example. Listen, we all have a passion. We have something that we care for deeply. And we believe this, that whatever has your heart has your life. And it's true. And that's why everybody is kind of fighting for the attention of your heart. And it's easy to get distracted. It's easy for our heart to shift and to chase after things that ultimately are not going to be the things that lift us up and the things that are good for us. And mostly, heart gets distracted from ultimately Jesus. And so today, as we're kicking this off and just talking about what does it mean to abide in Jesus, it starts with our passions. It starts with actually having a passion for Jesus, actually putting Jesus first and foremost in your life and in your heart, thinking of him, loving him, pursuing him, chasing after him, that Jesus isn't just a hobby. Jesus isn't just a Sunday thing, but Jesus is everything. And sometimes we just need a realignment of that. We need to just look at ourselves and ask the question, is my heart passionate for Jesus? And I think there's a prayer that we could pray today that could just get us started off in the right direction here with that. And here's that prayer. Jesus, I come to you today reflecting on what has my heart. I acknowledge today that what has my heart has my life, and I need that to be you. Help me today to love you with all the passion that is in me. If there is anything in me that does not lead to you, then please redirect it or completely take it away. And so then after that, we're going to talk about prayer. How do you abide in Jesus with prayer? How do you give God everything in your prayer life? We live in a world where if you want to know how somebody feels about something, you probably just need to follow their social media feed. And we talk about everything. We talk about the things that we love. We talk about the things that we don't. We specifically talk about the things that are stressing us out and worrying us. And I don't know about you, but for me, it's amazing how quickly I will talk about my problems to other people, not necessarily looking for answers or help or suggestions, but really just to unload and to complain and just to kind of spread my stress and fear. And it's amazing how much I do that and how very little I pray, how very little I take time to just trust what's happening in my life, both good and bad, at the hands of God and at the feet of Jesus. And so if we're going to abide in Jesus, we're going to have to communicate with him. We're going to have to talk to him. We're going to have to trust him with the things in our life that if it's worth talking about, then I believe it's worth praying about. And maybe you've just been in a season where you've just been going through some things and you've been talking a lot about your problems, but you haven't really been talking to God about your problems. And what a great day to just realign our hearts and our minds and just to make the decision that today we're going to trust God with the things in our life. And I invite you to pray this prayer with me to help us get on track. Jesus, today I acknowledge my lack of prayer is a direct connection to my lack of faith. There have been so many times that I have allowed myself to be consumed by worry, doubt, and fear, and not be consumed by your truth and my dependence on you. Help me to understand today that if it is worth talking about, then it is worth praying about. Help me to love you and abide in you through my prayers. And then we're going to talk about what does it mean to love God with your strength, or as the Message version says, muscle. I like saying the word muscle there because I think that's what we try to do. We try to muscle through everything, don't we? We just think that the answer to something not working is just to muscle through it. And I think sometimes we try to muscle our way out of God's will. And when it comes to our strength, we don't really trust God with our strength. We trust ourselves with our strength. And when it comes to abiding in Christ, it's one thing to have a passion for him. It's one thing to trust him in our prayer life, but it's a whole other thing to completely submit to Jesus, isn't it? It's a whole other thing to actually let go and let God take over, to take the position of being a servant, to take the position of weakness to the strength of Christ. It's a whole other thing to do that. Because again, I think there are the things that are happening inside of us, but on the outside, we try to muscle through things. And so I love what he says, to love God with all your strength, to love God with your muscle. It's just to trust God to be your hands and feet in the situation that it's in, knowing that you and I, we are simply not enough. We're just not. No matter how hard we fight, no matter how hard we try, no matter how hard we try to work a situation out, you and I, we just do not have the strength to do it. We are inadequate at best. But Jesus is more than adequate. He is more than enough. He is strong. As a matter of fact, our weakness is a direct connection to his strength. And we're called to trust him with all the things in our lives. And when it comes time to lay down, we're supposed to lay it down and to trust him. And maybe you're here and you're exhausted because you've been trying to muscle your way through the situation you're in with all your might, and it is just not working. I challenge you to take a better way today when it comes to abiding in Jesus. It comes to trusting him, to love him with your strength, and to let him take over. And that you'd pray this prayer with me to help you take those steps. Jesus, today I recognize that on my own, I am simply not enough. I will never be strong enough, smart enough, or good enough to muscle my way through the things that I face every day. I understand my need for you to take over, and today I lay it all down at your feet. I surrender myself to you, and I give up my right to myself. You have all that I am for your will today. And finally, we're gonna end here with loving God with your mind, or as the Message says, love God with your intelligence. It's amazing how much our mind impacts our life. That the things that we put inside our mind, it affects our thoughts. It affects our energy. It's amazing that the mind controls so much, and yet it's something that we are so reluctant to be protective of. It's incredible the things that we allow into our minds, the things that we think about, the things that we expose ourselves to, even the kind of the rabbit hole of thought that we allow ourselves to fall down in certain situations. Now, all throughout the scriptures, Jesus talks about the fact that we can take control of our minds, that we can take control of the words and the actions that come out of ourselves, that we have that through Christ. We have that through the Spirit, but we're just not walking in it. We're not stepping in it. And one of the most important ways to abide in Christ is to make the decision that our minds are going to be a place that it's going to be healthy. It's going to be a place that only the good things grow. It's going to be a place that we're going to let that be, the front door, the front gate, that if something's coming in, it's got to come through that. And we're going to make sure it's always good and it's always about Jesus. And that becomes very hard in the world that we live in. Goodness, hang out on social media for just a bit and you're going to feel lost in it. But you and I, through Jesus, can be strong enough to stay with him and abide in him through those things. And I'd encourage you to pray this prayer with me when it comes to your mind and your intelligence. Jesus, I know that my mind is a complicated place. There have been too many times my mind has served as a roadblock instead of a freeway. Today I ask that you would clear the path for me to trust you and see you for who you are. I don't just want you to influence me to make better decisions right now, but to change the way I allow influence into my mind from this day on. And so I'm just hoping this week, as you are making a commitment to abide in Christ, that to be devoted to him, to know him better, that you begin to build habits into your life, that when it comes to your passion, that your passion would be for Jesus. When it comes to your prayer life, that the first person you're talking to is Jesus about the things that are going on in your life. When it comes to your muscle, that you're not muscling your way through situations, but that you're taking your strength and you're loving God with everything that you have, and you're trusting him to be the hands and feet of the situation. You're trusting him to take control. When it comes to your mind and your intelligence, that you're choosing to set aside your mind for him, so that not only you can abide in him, but just like what we talked about on Sunday, so that your life ultimately can bear fruit. You and I are called to bear fruit for the kingdom, not for ourselves, but ultimately for Jesus. Like, not just ultimately for Jesus, only for Jesus. That is the point of our lives, is to bear fruit for him. And that's what I'm hoping happens for you this week, as you are stepping into the Discipleship in a Box, as you are stepping into this new series, and you are stepping into these first 15s every day, that you would love God with all of your heart, with all of your soul, with all of your mind, with all of your strength, and that we would see that fruit grow in you and out of you. Well, church, thank you so much for hanging out with us. Thank you for spending this first 15. We love you. We're praying for you, and we can't wait to see you next time.